War Eagle, and welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live. And thank you for joining us, whether you are here watching this live or on the replay. Here we talk about lots of things, especially always heavy on the sports. But if it's orange and blue, it's what we do here on this channel. For many of you that were just watching live a second ago, you'll know this is take 2 of this live stream. Had a few technical difficulties. But we welcome you back and thank you for being here. Always interesting when you're doing virtual things right here. So on these live streams, if you're new here, what we do is we talk about the main topic. The main topic I have prepared for us today is the roster changes that have happened for Auburn basketball in this past week. We did a live stream about a week ago, maybe, not a little less than a week ago, talking about Allen Flanigan coming back. Well, some things have changed since then. So we're going to discuss those in depth and detail, what they mean for the roster, what they could potentially mean for other things happening with Auburn basketball. All that is fair game here. But as always, whenever we get together, it is fair game for you as well to share anything, comments, questions that you want to talk about, really about anything Auburn or anything in general. Don't be shy. Post all that down there in the comment section. And also, if you can do me a favor as you come in, if you'll make sure you smash the like button while posting where you're watching from, city, state, international. Let us know where you're watching from. A War Eagle is also nice as well. Before we get started into our main content today, though, we do want to share with you some of the things that we always have going here on this network and obviously this YouTube channel as well. These are the main things that you can do to help support what we do here. Also, I want to call special attention to something in just a second, but I want to remind you that you can find the links for all this stuff in the description for this video, but some of it is pinned in the top of the chat window, but also almost to the top of the chat window as well. The main thing that I want to call your attention to today, and I know I have a lot of announcements today, so just bear with me, is our series Auburn Roots. We have episode 28 with Rob Richardson, where he's telling his Auburn story. You do not want to miss this series. In the very top of the chat window, that is pinned up there, the link to find that show. Now, a little bit more about this show. You can find it on our main podcast feed, but I know a lot of people don't like to have the oodles amount of content that we have because we update you quite often on there. This is a series that has its own feed, so that means you can only get those episodes on that feed on the link that I've shared up there. So if you'd like to check that out but not have updates all the time, just when we have these episodes, you can go check that out right there. So please do. He has a great Auburn story. You don't want to miss it. Also, last thing, we do have a TeePublic sale going on. You can get 35% off our T-shirts and some other Auburn and sports-related gear at our TeePublic site. Again, all the links for this are in the chat window. Some of them were, but also in the description for this video. So thank you guys for being here. We've got a couple of people already tuning in. Casey says, War Eagle from Birmingham. Frederick, good to see you as well, my friend. Thanks for being here and being willing to chat. This is a little bit later of a live stream than I typically do in the middle of the day. Usually I start like right before 12 because I feel like that's when most people are available. But I got off to a later start today, or later start because of doing a few things around here. But I wanted to go ahead and pop in before I got too busy on the rest of my day trying to get some things done around here in the network headquarters central here. But obviously, I want to talk about the roster changes for Auburn. How's everybody feeling about that? What do you think about them? Who do you like coming in? Who do you like going out? All that good stuff. I've got some opinions on it. Obviously, last time, as I mentioned, we got together and talked about Allen Flanigan coming back. I don't think it surprised a lot of people, to be honest. I don't think it did. Could be wrong. But I also didn't fault him for going out there like a lot of people should in his position, test the waters of the NBA draft and see what happens. I think probably Allen as well thought he would probably be back, but it was a fair thing to say. Shane is already wanting to get to the meat of what he wants to know. Why, Trey? Why? I'll tell you why in just a minute. I still believe Trey Alexander will come back, and so no need to worry. But Casey, you're always thinking like the least possible thing will happen. So you've been right once or twice, but you've been very wrong sometimes too. Just picking on you a little bit there. All right. So obviously the big things that have happened since the Allen Flanigan news are Trey Alexander, who was one of our best pieces of the recruiting class behind Jabari Smith, as a shooting guard, was coming to Auburn. He has announced that he was going to open up his recruiting again. Now, that doesn't mean that he's committed anywhere. Doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to just commit to somewhere else. But it doesn't look good. Usually when you open up your commitment after being committed, you're not going to end back up at the place that you were. That means there was something there that you were unhappy with or just didn't suit you to the best of your ability. So to Casey's comment, I would say I would probably not expect Trey Alexander to come back at this point. I could be wrong, but I highly doubt that and I think we'll talk about that in just a second. The other thing, which is the more exciting news, which we haven't had a chance to talk about on the live stream yet, Desi Stills being here and coming to Auburn from Arkansas, which probably played a role in this as well. So it's kind of one of those things. You got to decide what you want. Do you want Desi Stills or do you want Trey Alexander? Because that probably went hand in hand there with what's going on. Neil, good to see you. I saw some new transfers coming in. Yeah, we've got a lot of things that are transpiring here. And a lot of people are, as Casey is, excited for Desi Stills. Yeah, I think that one was a big surprise for people. A lot of people were anticipating that to actually happen. There's obviously rumors out there, and as I always try to train you here, when you hear a rumor, always plan on it being 50-50 with you shading to the side of it not happening. That way you're not uber disappointed when it doesn't happen. That's the way I always go, and it's worked well thus far. I used to be all in on recruits and like, this is what's going to happen. And it just, roller coaster ride, man. It wasn't fun. Saw some guy named Zepp coming in. What a name. Yeah, but Zepp's been around. He committed a while back, but he officially signed. So I guess, that's part of that news as well. So he's officially signed in. So that's not going to change. So you don't have to worry about that going anywhere. But yeah. He wasn't going to get a lot of minutes his first season, probably so. So what's happened here? Let's take a step back here. The big domino that fell a long time ago was Sharif Cooper deciding to go to the NFL, to the NBA, officially signing an agent, can't come back. That was the big domino that fell. Since then, it's been a race to figure out who's going to be the point guard next year. And we brought in Wendell Green, Zep Jasper is one that's going to be able to do that a little bit as well, but also a nice third person in line for that would be Desi Stills, who came in. So that's happened as well. With I had blanked for a second. With Alan Flanagan potentially deciding to leave and Justin Powell deciding to leave and Jamal Johnson and Javon Franklin, there was a lot of 2-3 guard space, if not all the 2-3 guard space left. So what's happened since then, obviously Wendell is probably the true point guard. Desi and Trey was going to be a 2 and a 3 guard as well, probably a 2. Alan Flanagan coming back. So what you've had here is a jockeying of positions for what's going to happen with the guard, the what we would call the backcourt for Auburn, positioning wise here. So what's happened is Trey Alexander, probably when he committed, things looked good for him to come in and potentially have a lot more playing time, probably, wouldn't you think? And now, with everything that's transpired with who you've brought in, I mean, you don't go out and get a guy like Desi Stills and him not have significant playing time. He's probably seen, I'm not going to play a lot, barring some injury things. So you can't really fault the dude for wanting to go explore other options. I just wouldn't anticipate him coming back. I will say this about Auburn. Auburn gets the coolest named players in sports. I was trying to think about that the other day. I was like, Prince Tega Wannago Jr., Prince Michael Sammons. We used to have like all the royalty. Brandon King, Tyler Queen, Duke. We had a Duke for a while there. So we had all the royalty names for a while there. It does tend to go that way. Montravius Adams, Dontavius Russell, Marcavius Bryant, who was Big Cat Bryant, all that good stuff. So yes, we do have some interesting names as well. By the way, if y'all haven't smashed that like button, if you enjoy this type of content, please do that. It does help the stream out, lets everybody else know that we're live so they can come in and join the conversation. Watched post-game interview with Nick's interview. Coach said Nick's was great. I know he underthrew one long pass, but according to our coach, receivers on the other missed plays were running the wrong routes. What I will say about that, True GA, is I think there's blame to go around on all sides. I don't want to sit here and say that, Bo didn't do anything wrong, I think. But, what I've been trying to get people to realize a lot is everybody focuses and puts their hatred and their disappointment and frustrations on Bo, but they forget what goes into that. That, in my opinion, is more on the offensive line, his struggles. But people need, and I've been trying to warn people, you need to be prepared that the wide receivers this year are talented but inexperienced and not necessarily ready to be the world beaters. Now, maybe by the end of the season, that might come to fruition. But we've got young guys that aren't experienced. There's going to be some struggles. So when you see an struggling offensive line, an unproven and inexperienced wide receivers, it really becomes the Bo and running back show, which is why Bo is, probably going to still have some struggles this season. Let's see. We need to go get a pure shooter guy who shoots 38 to 45% from three like Bryce Brown did out of the transfer portal. Now, Casey, again, you're the master of hyperbole. 38 to 45% from beyond is not normal, and that doesn't happen very often. So we're not going to go get someone like that. Those people are very few and far between. But we are fine at shooting guard position. So that's I will disagree with you on that. We don't need to go find someone that's a shooter at this point. We need one more person probably that can be a solid point guard, because Desi Stills, while he has had some experience playing point guard, he is not his primary position, and he will be better suited, just like Alan Flanagan, coming out being a shooter and a getting in position guy, as opposed to creating the position and creating the opportunities like a point guard should do. So yes, I think we do need to have great shooters, but that should not be our focus right now for that. Sharif in the NFL, wow, he could do it. Sorry, Yeah, that was a little bit of slip of the tongue there. Smoke looked good on the very first play for the defense. Rocked somebody. I mean, is anybody shocked that Smoke Monday smoked somebody? I mean, he is definitely going to be the leader of the defense along with Owen Papo. Seems like Chandler Wooten kind of when I say this, it sounds bad, but I don't mean it that way. He views himself as a leader. I think, when you choose to step away for a year for whatever reason, and probably some of those are good reasons, you can't necessarily just be the leader walking in. You got to earn it, and maybe he's already done that. But he's a potential one that's also going to be a leader on the defense as well. Transfer portal, again, my man, is not the answer to everything. Can't do transfers don't fix everything. Smoke Monday is the coolest name. Yes, it is. In fact, we had a fantasy football league here on the network, and my name was Smoke Tuesday because I don't know, it made me laugh when I typed it in. So I was like, and I'm going to be Smoke Tuesday, because the rule was in that fantasy football league that you had to do an Auburn related name. Something play off of something like that. It could be current or former players. And I chose Smoke Tuesday just because it made me laugh so much. So right now what happens with him opening up his recruitment is we've got 2 spots available. And this is back to basketball. 2 spots available. You've got JT Thor, who's out in the wind out there, who I had kind of said, well, with 1 spot left. And in fact, we did a podcast this week where we talked a little bit about this. We might have even left that spot open for a little bit of cap room on the roster. But JT Thor could still come back. Now with Trey leaving, what that might mean is there may be a point guard out there that Auburn would like to go after to bring in to back up Wendell Green, to back up Zep Jasper. Because again, he's not a true point guard, but he is more of a point guard option than Desi is, and Desi's more of a point guard option than anybody else. So personally, I would really just like for us to go out and find one more point guard that's willing to come in, be a bench player, and not have as much time. That might be a transfer, maybe someone reclassifies. Could still happen. Scoot Henderson's one of those ones out there that everybody's thinking about. But I do think there are 2 roster spots open. One of those is open for JT Thor to come back, which would be very nice. The question then is, does Auburn leave that open, or do they still go and look for another point guard option, which is what I think they should do at this point. So let me ask you all the question, what does your roster look like at this moment? So everybody likes to then say, well, it depends on JT Thor. I'm removing JT Thor from the option. He is not here on the roster at this moment. So don't even give me the JT Thors, what if scenarios. With who is currently here at Auburn, going to be part of the roster, who would be your starting lineup? Post that now. I think Wendell Green is probably going to be in line to be the point guard at the 1 position, at the 2 position. And 2 and 3 to me are kind of interchangeable, but I would say Alan Flanagan is going to have the leg up to win one of those spots, and then Desi Seals right behind him. I think personally, Jalen Williams still has an inside track to the 4 position, if not the 5 position. Depends on what type of lineup they want. But, a lot of people think Walker Kessler is going to come in and just start day one. I think there's a high likelihood that might happen, but there's something about this situation because if, without JT Thor here, you could do a Jalen Williams and you could do a Walker Kessler setup as well, which would still be pretty nice. He hasn't reclassified as of this moment, and I don't know when that deadline happens, so it could still happen. I know some guys who smoke left-handers, and they say on Monday it's smoke. That's weird but funny at the same time. Honestly, I don't think Trey Alexander was going to get much playing time, and it wouldn't have been the best way to get in the NBA in 1 year. Yeah, I guess that's probably the option there. There's the rumor out there that Trey Alexander wants to be at Auburn, but his parents or the influences in his life want him to consider the G League option, which is, a lot of people have gone that route and had some great success. So that might be something that happens for him. Trey Alexander, I do think as people were added to the roster, his time was looking less and less in terms of playing time. And I kind of even, when we were throwing around rosters, like where does Trey Alexander fit in all this? He's coming off the bench at this point in my mind, which is not something that he was probably prepared for. Casey says point guard Wendell, Desi, Allen, Jabari Smith, and I forgot about Jabari Smith too. So let me backtrack what I said there. I don't know how you forget about that. So I think Casey's probably got that pinned right now. Wendell Green, Desi Stills, Alan Flanagan, Jabari Smith, and Jalen Williams with Walker Kessler coming off the bench. Now, for all of you out there that are panicking and say, how can you not say that Walker Kessler is going to start right away? He may. Probably if anybody coming in had a inside track to start, it's probably Walker Kessler. But I think, and we talked about this on the podcast this week, I think the thing that people fail to recognize sometimes about what Auburn basketball needs right now is a leader and what they needed this season. They really didn't have a solidified leader. Sharif Cooper kind of became that by proxy, but even he probably wasn't truly ready for all that. Jalen Williams, to me, is that guy, and I saw him do that at times. We looked at the schedule. I think there was about 6 games where he was the leading scorer. Now, being a leading scorer doesn't mean that you're the leader, but you probably should do that a few times if you're going to be the leader, at least on the floor. So I think Jalen Williams, his leadership is an absolute necessity. So I think Coach Pearl's struggle is going to be finding time for him on the floor. So, I think Jalen Williams is going to start, but that may mean that Walker Kessler comes off the bench to start off with. Now, what happens if JT Thor comes back? It just gets crazy at that point. We used to struggle to find people for the front court. Not anymore. If JT Thor comes back, this whole thing gets crazy here because it depends on what type of lineup you want to run. If you want to run a bigger lineup or a smaller lineup, depending on your matchup, which may be what happens is there's not really a true starting lineup. It just depends on who we're playing. I think if JT Thor comes back, he's instantly in the starting lineup. I don't think anybody's going to argue with me on that. I think it's going to be hard-pressed to not put Jabari Smith in there. Jalen Williams, I think, again, has a case that he still should start, but I don't know that Coach Pearl wants to run that big of a lineup as the starters. But he could. And then JT Thor is such a hybrid, even though he's so tall and lanky, you could definitely put him in there, which might bump Desi out. I think even Casey says here, I think the question, I don't see Desi starting if JT comes back. So you could see a Wendell, Allen, JT, Williams, and Jabari Smith lineup. You also could see a Wendell, Sills, Flanagan, Thor, Williams, or Walker Kessler, or Jabari Smith probably, honestly, in that option. I think the leader is always the guard like Jared Harper. I feel like Wendell and Desi are going to be the leaders of this team. I think you go and get a guy like Desi, definitely for his leadership capabilities, for his experience in the SEC. So he's going to be kind of expected to do that a little bit. I don't necessarily agree that a guard has to be the leader. I think that the point guard needs to be the leader in terms of setting up the plays, but in terms of the team leader, I don't necessarily agree with that a guard has to be it. I think Jalen Williams, with the way he's been here, like a lot of guys, though, for the longest time, he knows the roster, he knows the coach, he knows the makeup of this team. I think, personally, that is your leader going forward for the Auburn Tigers. So we were sitting here thinking we'd have this whole roster thing figured out with Alan Flanagan coming back, Desi Stills in the lineup, but then Trey Alexander had to go and throw everything out. We just thought we were waiting on the answer for JT Thor. And I even said on the podcast this week on Inside the Jungle, I said, just grain of salt here. We're all going to say the things on this show today, and it's going to get completely messed up when someone decides to make a change or something like that. And sure enough, the next day, Trey Alexander decided to go. So really it becomes a question of now is, does Auburn leave? He has two spots. Does JT Thor take one? Does Auburn leave that spot open and work with what they have? Or do they go get a point guard, a backup point guard? I'm kind of thinking they might at this point, because I think if Trey Alexander did decide to leave, I think what it shows is that, A, he either personally doesn't see a lot of playing time for himself, or the rumors that his family would like for him, because of lack of playing time, would like to go see the G League so he can get to the NBA. That's likely as well. I think it also might indicate that there was probably a conversation with the coaches where that was like a harsh reality, and then they were saying, look, you probably should do this. It's probably better for you. And then that would allow us to have some options to bring in someone else that may not want to go as quickly as you. So it may not have been just a decision by Trey Alexander. It could have been a mutual decision, a mutual parting of ways, that they allowed him to say, hey, I'm going to open up my recruitment and see what happens there. Back to what Casey said, I don't think that necessarily you can eliminate that an opportunity that he wouldn't come back. I just don't see it. Like I said, usually when someone leaves, that's it. They don't come back to the place that they left, because there's already kind of that hurt feel. It's not hurt feelings, but if you left something, you left it for a reason, right? So, you wouldn't want to go back to that. Let me poll the room real quick. What's the likelihood that you would put on JT Thor coming back? Percentage, confidence. How are y'all feeling? I need to gauge the room on this because I'm bouncing back and forth. Casey throwing out some predictions. Jabari will average 20. Allen 18. Jalen 20. Green about 12. Walker about 12. Desi will average around 14. Zepp 11. So we need to pin that so we can see if you're right. I think Bruce sees something in Wendell that maybe we don't see. Maybe Wendell was Bruce's choice over Scoot this year. Who knows? I think you're probably not wrong. Even today, they posted out, the Auburn basketball social media accounts posted a video of just, what do you call it? Highlights. that, I just didn't expect them to show a highlight reel of a recruit coming in. And so I think they see something special in him real quick. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. 60%, 50%. It's probably where I'm sitting, to be honest with you. Probably where I'm sitting. I'm thinking through this. I would say probably leaning 55% at this point for me. 55%. All right, I think I'm going to start wrapping up the show today, though. But I'm not going away just yet, so get last minute comments, questions, all that good stuff in right now. This is not the one I wanted to show you. If you would like to help support what we do here, here's the ways that you can help do that. Listen to the podcast, Booster Club, PayPal donations, TeePublic Store, all that good stuff. All the links are in the description, but also in the top of the chat window. More specifically, please come on over and check out Auburn Roots. You can check out his Auburn story, Mr. Rob Richardson. Links up at the top if you want to go and check out that. There are many stories there, including Coach Sonny Smith, Richard Stevens, Jarris McIntyre, all kinds of cool stories that you want to go check out. So I hope you will do that today. There's also a sale. TeePublic, $13 t-shirts, 35% off. Get our logo and some other cool gear for yourself as well. What are you all saying here? Dylan, 8 points a game. Devin, 10. Akingbola, 6. Unfortunately, I think my boy Akingbola is going to see less and less time the way that front court is set up right now. He shouldn't go. He should come back, but some idiot is going to tell him how great he is and how he needs to go now. I don't know. I wouldn't agree that it would be a bad move for him to go now. I think he would benefit from one more year of growth. But if he's getting clear markers that I'm going in the first round, which there's some speculation that's true, you can't really fault him for going. It's the same thing with Sharif Cooper, right? So I wouldn't blame him, but I would love to see him come back for another year. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for today. I know that was a shorter stream, and I do, I hope we'll be back later this weekend to do some stuff and things like that. But I appreciate all of you stopping by. Smash that like button on the way out. Subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'm sure there'll be plenty of news to talk about coming out very soon. Until I talk to you again, War Eagle.